Grace? Last week's events were quite distressing for all of us. I don't understand why this would happen. Why would someone eat smudge? A friendly king dies, and she's mostly concerned with the fact that her poor little snail got eaten. At least we know where her concerns lie. One of the few characters we can wholeheartedly trust across this game. Goodness. Pietro, what's up? Your Grace, I think I know that they are after me. Who are you talking about? Yesterday, when I went to bed, someone was in my room. They moved the candles. They left them on the windowsill. I never leave my candles on the windowsill. Your Grace. That's delightfully ambiguous. To touch on that for a moment, that in the midst of something that is very decidedly mostly about social intrigue and kingdom management and that kind of thing, that they managed to insert a little bit of mystery, ominous ambiguity, I think is quite impressive. And all through a non-plussing interaction. They didn't ask anything of us, they didn't do anything to our kingdom, but they do give us questions, and questions are the seeds of doubt when they have no answers. Wanted to see me? I'm sorry I shouted at you, Father. I didn't mean it when I called you stupid. I just wish things were different. I just wish I'd spend the past couple of days being with you, not angry at you. I know, darling, I know. I love you, Father. I love you, too. I love you more than anything in this world, Lily. I'll see you at the party. Is that the sum in total? Not... This right here, while a very heartwarming moment, Eric coming to see his daughter, her finally breaking out of her feud, and then them having a touching moment of father to daughter, is very sweet. But that there's no options for any dialogue outside of that is a missed opportunity, especially with the seed planted talking to Eric's wife about the possibility of telling Lorsulia why she's being forced into a marriage, the kind of prevailing conflict that's looming on the border with the Rodovians, or even that Sidani really wants the cat Dusty to stay behind. There could have been a lot more done with this scene alone. And it's moments like this that could be a fine lesson for any aspiring storyteller, let alone game developer. In an attempt at self-criticism, we see Nietzsche lay out all of his regard for what this book amounts to, as a metaphysico-artistic way of looking at all of the things that he wishes to accomplish, believes is the coming age, and that which all ought to aspire to. Ultimately, a critique of morality as what life is, what its purpose is, and instead an emplacement of life as art, and art as life. All right, from the top. Yes, there is very much repeating, indeed. Especially whenever I'm trying to go through the words themselves. Unfortunately, as someone who is self-taught in the bothers and woes of audiobook producing and voice acting and all that kind of thing, I have to take my time and talk with the monitor on. So I'm hearing every word that I'm saying not just as an echo, but in fact as a literal echo in my ears through my headset. And through that, see all of the missteps or intonations that don't come quite out as I would prefer them to, and all of that good business, which I later work out. As not simply being, standing still, static, but becoming an ongoing, rolling process with no start and no end, only the acknowledgement of doing, flowing, changing, and a critic importance on experiencing it, not attempting to model and mottle it with all manners of conceptual edifice, architecture, and constructivism, but instead feeling, sensation, aesthetic, seeing the beauty in the change, the coordination of so many things all together as great and anti-moral, Dionysian glory. Yes, there are quite a few interesting and old words that Nietzsche uses. He was an academic through and through, and it shows, this book itself being a thing written to Richard Wagner, the famous musician of his time. It reads like an academic text, for better and for worse, and also at the same time as he would account it, I think, as a piece of music, a piece of complex music. And in that, it's not going to be everybody's taste. But that's why I do the summaries, I think I'll eventually start compiling in little playlists. I'll probably call it like Books in Minutes, where we can have kind of like a Blinkist article, a short, sweet bundle of all of the key highlights of what happens in a book or document of any variety, and make it a little bit more easy to digest for everybody involved who doesn't engage with this kind of media as I do on the regular. And in this recapitulation of his outlook, and indeed review as it was presented here, he understands it as exactly what it was, and what most of us will experience if we are artists in any way, or in fact those who consider themselves of an academic breed, that of the haughty, youthful, first go of things, putting that first foot forward, stepping into the great unknown with what one believes that they know, and spilling it forth out in great verbosity, with far too many words for those who care not to listen, too many for those who would otherwise not already be convinced of the position, too many and too convoluted, too unclear, foggy, and mirthful for those who are already not involved in such an understanding. Well, generally, what do you need? What have you learned? Radovians have formed stationary posts around our castle, Your Grace. How'd they get so close? You just, okay. Camps, if you like. They're planning their next moves. Destroying the post should damage their ability to form strategies, Your Grace. Wait on my mark, General. I'll instruct you when to strike. Yes, Your Grace. How did they get around our castle? Unbelievable. Wow. We really just let them set up camp literally. Well, I guess we're about to make some very unhappy campers. Yet, at the same time, knowing, true as it is, that seed of what lay underneath, and a projective vision thereafter, not towards the past, but forth, in understanding himself, in tracking where that seed has sprouted forth, bloomed out, and finally, with his own hope, dropped seeds for the rest of all others. With great hope, and perhaps an optimism, not quite with a romanticism, as he would strongly suggest against, and in fact, expresses great loathing for, in the knowledge that there was this in the past, in the Greeks, and in knowing that undercurrent as it is, a bassy rumbling that continues beating throughout the ages, that others will find themselves a part of that chorus. I really should visit Grevno more often. Nevertheless, Your Grace, I have a favor to ask of you. Thank you. What can I do for you? There's a nefarious thief going from lord to lord pretending like he needs help. He convinced other nearby lords to give him gold, including me. How do you convince a lord to just... Alright, guys, I need some gold, like, right away. Please? Give. Like a bunch of lords? You guys not talk to each other? The chorus, as he might put it, as I think best summarizes the entire passage, is that, in his own words, of the rose garland of laughter, the lightening of all things in the world, to see throughout the ever-becoming of things that which is, and that which is beautiful, which inspires cheerfulness, and in its own way is the source of its own beauty, of its own laughter, of its own becoming. I guess we should end it here. I was just warming up. Do you think we could do this again one day? Absolutely! Swordsmanship is crucial. Could use a little Elizabeth Swann taking a throne one day. I will find you when I have a while. I suppose that'll be never then. You hardly do anything anymore. Oh, Talus would tell you otherwise, trust me. Father, I'm sorry. What I did to Lord Sulia was unfair. Don't apologize to me. I know. Feel like it's best to give her some time. I will make it right, though. And good. Just, yep, right in the pocket where the sword goes, as you do. While in an attempt of self-criticism, I find myself broadly agreeing with the idea of neither placing morality as the head of one's philosophy, nor even as attempting to enshrine it as an immutable absolute. That there ought to be joy, festivity, happiness, and the foremost acknowledgement of becoming as the basis for all that is. A thing that is a processor with processes that create proceedings. Yet I disagree that it has no place. Rather, I would put that that ethics is best understood as that amalgam, coordination, complementarity, and integration of so much feeling, so much becoming, so many processes together in what we understand as life. In that, I do accept that life is itself art, in that it is artifice of its own design, a self-creation, a self-becoming, and that this indeed is the foundation of what we understand life as, and that this, recognized as such, is beauty. Big day in 3 weeks. I can't believe how fast the time flies. Lorsulia doesn't really want to get involved with the wedding preparation, so everything's on my head. She'd be less upset if she understood that this is the best option we have. Do you think we should tell her about the promise? No, Eric. How do you think she would react? Probably better than not knowing any reason why you suddenly 180'd and decided, yeah, well, after the promise, you're definitely getting married to somebody. Almost certainly. She would hate us forever for promising her before she was even born. You were literally dagger to the throat. It's a pretty reasonable thing to say. She can never find out about this. Well, your funeral, I guess, and mine too. Where we delineate, at least as is espoused most thoroughly in this book, is that this is to be the first. I probably would have been called quite the Apollonian by Nietzsche himself, in that I do think, quite oppositely to him, that in being art, artifice, creation, and beauty, that these things are themselves logic. They are, from the territory of existence, a key that is maintaining itself, and continually, time over time, in that fashion of process and becoming, itself producing the map, and that map is the life. But you can't get to it without logic. That is the key. Relations, axioms that hold together what we call life, the subject, as not separate from objects, but merely a subtype, one of those becomings. Your Grace, I have a small favor to ask of you. Teeny tiny. Would you happen to have any spare gold? You see, 1 piece of gold is all I ask for. That way, I could get myself some boat. Yes, that's it. Some new boats, of course. I know this is rather unusual, but I would greatly appreciate the help. So, what say you? No. I think not. Don't waste my time. I didn't mean to, Your Grace. Let me just disappear. Yeah. Up and away with you, friend. To summarize in a more tidy fashion, life is art, and art is life, in that both of these are a thing of logic, and by this, I think rather than in the Nietzschean way of resolving Dionysos and Apollo in that tragic fashion, more towards the Hegelian side, though not with the admission per se of spirit, we attain that which is heroic, the next step, not a postmodernist fashion, but a neo-modernist fashion, a recognition and recollection of things as they are. Forgive me, Father said I should make some kind of speech. I wasn't sure what to say. I hope I didn't offend you. Anyway, you look very pretty, Lorsulia. Yeah, that's what I figured. That coldest of shoulders. Oh, Evo, he's a good lad. You'll get used to him. He's still a better pick than Radovia. Yeah, I mean, why not some humor? You don't want to know what the other option was. What? There was another option? Oh no! I've sabotaged it! Luckily, it's not an option anymore, my darling. We'll discuss this later. All physic processes that agglomerate and abide by the rules of those processes to become themselves processors, and in that, a resolution of mind and body as not a dualism, but a monism of subject and object, not as disparate and dichotomized, but truly one thing. Not anti-moral as such, but in recognizing morality as built upon that logic, that process of becoming, and in that, not just what is, or even the abstract rules that we pull from that, not as particulars, universals, or existentials, but an index of them all together, multiplicity, a process of everything. And the party went on. Everyone was busy eating fancy food, drinking the finest wine. The band was loud, too. I looked for him everywhere. I stirred up every pot, even in the kitchen. Don't worry, we'll find him, Sidani. Didn't know they had such sublime taste. These snails are extremely undercooked. Tuh. Oh no! My man ate smudge! No! What snails? That's not part of the menu! Smudge! No! The party went better than anyone expected. Oh. In Chapter 1, Nietzsche, in a fashion of his own, chisels, paints, and sings, most of all, forth for us his understanding of the Apollonian and the Dionysian, a poetic fashion in rhythm and rumble, stamping of feet and raising of voice, does he show us the world dreamer of Apollo on one hand, that which carries on in episodic fashion, moving from point to point to point, picturing and painting, canvassing and drawing out all theory, model, and mode of what is a truly rational, radiant character, not just any, but that of the plastic artist, the one that sees things through a lens of their own design. And only through that lens, or to venture outside of it, to apply their dreamscape, their conceptual observatory upon it, and practice it, as it were, would no longer be as the dreamer. Listen, I think I've spent enough time with the guest. Fuck you, Talus. Just fuck you, man. I really need to get back to the archives, so if you don't mind, I will take my leave, Eric. Yeah, get out of here. Talus! Ha! Your Grace. Leaving so early. Toast, toast! Drink at least one more with us. See? Perfect timing, Your Grace. Perfect indeed. Will I get some peace after that? To the young couple. He scolded that thing! Until the ill-fated toast, that is. Yo! Merchant man! Did you poison our ally? Come on, dude! You're shit than me! Oh, Eric, send for the doctor! And alongside the Dionysian, who clamors and feels and guides themselves by that feeling, cawing and echoing, and moving by that echo, where the Apollonian rests and observes in repose. The Dionysian strains, sallying forth to touch, not see, to hold, not ponder, to not be before the presence, but to be the presence. And in this, the dualistic standard, by which Nietzsche holds art itself, and only in their coming together, their resolution of their differences, the total separation of one from everything, and everything from one, the solidarity of it all, the definition of tragedy, and art as tragedy. Eric, I can't believe this. You leave me no choice. As the new king of Etana, my first order is to withhold the armies that my father promised you, and I will not be paying for your agents. Eric, the king of Davern, you are responsible for Talus' death, unless otherwise can be proven upon a royal trial. Until then, Davern will not receive support from Etana. Okay. Lusulia, pack your things. We're taking my father home. Wait, no, you can't do that. Your Grace, the wedding is over. The vows were said, the marriage still stands. Have courage, my darling. Okay. Well, I guess we're boned for a while then. But at least we're making cash money! It was this recognition, when I first came upon this book, of the genuinely dualistic nature that runs from Plato, and almost certainly before him, up through the present, and almost decidedly into the future, which began to spark my conceptions that brought me to that unified outlook that I hold. Not simply theory, neither practice, and not just production, but all three as a unified solidarity. All three as something that is not tragic, but heroic, that going beyond the duality, to recognize in it not a true dichotomy, but something that is best understood in a triadic fashion, of not just the Apollonian, Dionysian, or their reconciliation in Zarathustra, but all of them in unity, as part of that same underlying substrate, and if I were to keep it in theme, aletheia. Your Grace, my son, a disgrace to the family. I sent him to gather some brushwood in the forest. Turns out he's too dumb to find a way back home. Do you think you could help us find him? I mean, there's no rush. Gold's at a premium now. I guess, here's some gold. I believe that should be enough to cover your loss. I get paid for losing my son? That's He makes a good argument, you know? My boy's dumb as a box of rocks. Could you maybe help me find him, oh King? Yeah, well, no. But he is dumb. Have some gold. He's got me dead to rights here. Graziana, go send all the other little brats in the forest. We're getting rich, you cheeky sod. Neither an ontology of static being, nor kinetic becoming, but in a totalizing begetting. And in this, combined with what I had learned from Aristotle, and the idea of matter in forms, not in that dualistic sense, or even in a triadic sense as came later in Charles Sanders Peirce, with his particular theory of semiosis, but in a physical hulomorphism. Neither all particulars in just matter alone, nor in the free-floating idealisms of forms, but these as a joint thing together, as inseparable, as part of one another, as processor with its processes and its proceedings, the being, becoming, and begetting. I hate that you had to see that. Yeah, the wedding didn't really go to plan, did it? No, youngin', it surely didn't. We certainly didn't plan for our closest ally who was bankrolling our entire defense to literally explode. So, you know, what do you think about it? No, what happened was terrible. The wedding went fairly well until then. Yeah, it did. As an artist, not as detached from philosophy, but because of philosophy, this allows me to see beyond the dualities, not only in Plato or Aristotle, or even Nietzsche, even in his suggestion of reconciliation in tragedy. The heroic kind of art is that with not just things as they appear, but motion as such. That in my perspective, all art is by definition a microcosm of the greater macrocosm. Some small thing, neither model nor music, still or ongoing, but a proceedent unto itself, a consequence of other processes, that then itself becomes a new process, whether it be this very video, games of all variety, books, movies, sculptures, or live performance. Hey, I know I'm the king and everything, but that chandelier up there looks kinda ratchet. But it is over my throne, you know. Maybe I should just, get it fixed up and repaired, or maybe I'll just test fate like I've been doing for the last several years and I'm now well in over my head about. Yeah, that's fine, that's alright. Oh, this dude has no sense of risk, no sense of care. Where Nietzsche puts the primordial unity on the Dionysian side, I would argue it underlies all of them, that it is all of them. There is no distinction to be made, in truth, though it may be picked apart in various fashions. And there is no better proof in that every piece of art, in having been created by one or more, that they are then reflections of their efforts, of their reconciliation as such, and that they themselves, though they do not necessarily bear the animacy of we as beings, are animate in their own way. That from something in their creators, they hold a piece of them, just as this book here, despite the critiques of a later Nietzsche, sees in it that it too is but one of many seeds from the same flower. Neither feeling nor reason alone, not an imbalance between these, and not some glimmering intersection of the two, but a twinkling ember of his very spirit. So far, having just completed week 10 and getting into week 11, we've had to make a number of very tough decisions. Intrigue has finally been introduced as an element with the death of a main character, and one of our daughters is now sent off and away. So we have people afar calling our attention, a sudden lack of resources on every account, and strains at the highest they have been so far on characters' attention and intention, all stirring together into a mighty storm with that, we've had several side characters that have come and gone, little plot threads that trickle their way in, and clues that we have accumulated which, by all rights, give us some amount of hope. While simple overall, in both interface and interaction, the crux of it really is in not only the excellent presentation, the easy-to-follow story, but in the narrative breadth more than necessarily the depth. It spins just a few plates at the same time, but in doing so, it really engages the player to take the situation seriously, to keep their eyes on those plates. Because, as it is making very clear in something like a trial run period to get the player familiarized, that the stakes could never be higher for this nation, and by consequence, you and your family. Amongst the 3 games that I've been playing so far, this one definitely has my curiosity and interest most elevated. Not on the grounds of the action, nor on the comedic aspect, but certainly in seeing where it all goes. I thank you all for being here with me today, and I hope that you enjoyed it. If you didn't, please do give me feedback, critique, commentary, and whatever you think might make this better. You can find ways to do that in the comments section, on my social media on X, Instagram, BitChute, or on Discord in the Threefold Edifactory, all linked in the descriptions. If you did like it, you can go there to find more content, and if you really liked it, you can foremost share it with those who you think might like it the best. Or if you'd like to do so monetarily, there is Stream Elements for a one-time donation, or Patreon starting at $5 if you'd like to contribute more regularly. But without any further ado, I hope that you all never miss your opportunities.